Hi, I'm Rick from Hand Tool Woodworking and Furniture Company. Today's video we're going to take that original 6-inch box, we're going to add a rabbet to it, and it's going to teach us some more about dimension lines. Alrighty everybody, here we are again. This video we're going to take the same 6-inch box and we're going to get a little bit more complicated in it. We're going to start to learn how to draw interior lines that we may not be able to see from a different view, but we'll still be able to portray that measurement and portray it in all three views that we're drawing. And of course I'm wiping it. Alright, let's go through this real quickly this time. Resting my palms on the T-square. I'm moving my paper in. I'm going to rest it against the wood part of my T-square. Making sure the head of my T-square is tight up against the left hand side of my table. I'm going to tape the top two corners. Making sure I'm taping straight down and not pulling my paper away from me. Slide the T-square down. Make sure it's good with the edge. And it's good to go. Take the bottom two. Now grab my mechanical pencil. I'm using full scale for this right here. Right here, my quarter mark. Pushing down slightly, making a divot. Quarter mark, pulling down slightly, making a divot. Quarter mark, pushing down slightly, making a divot. Title block is a 1/2 inch. Come down from the top. Add a quarter. I'm going to place the tip of my pencil in that divot, move the T-square to it, draw my line across. Tip of the pencil in the divot, bring my T-square to it, draw my line across. Once more at the top. Pencil in the divot, move my T-square to it, line across the top. I didn't finish that line, let me finish it. Grabbing my 30-degree triangle, place the pencil in the divot, draw my line. I'm using my 30-degree triangle because it covers the entire distance from the very top to the very bottom of this paper. Now this is the only time during this drawing I'm probably going to grab my 30-degree. Pencil in the divot, triangle to it, draw my line. Okay, now we got the border set up. We know from the last drawing we did that 3/8 is the scale. But let's go over how we figured that out one more time. We're going to have our bottom view, our top view, our side view. It's going to be 6 inches by 6 inches, so that's 12 inches. We want 1 inch between the front view and the top view. We want about 1 inch from the top border to the top of the top view. So that takes us 6, 12, 13, 14 inches. We have to fit 14 inches on there. Alright, so quarter scale, that fits We can put 30 inches in there, okay? That's gonna be too small of a scale. That's gonna make it too small. We want bigger than that because we want as much detail in here as possible. We want it as big as we could possibly get it, but still fit on the paper. So 3/8 scale, 14 inches will land us right there. So let's use a 3/8 scale. Now we know my engineer scale exactly 1 inch wide. So I'm going to set my engineer scale right on the top line of my border mark. I'm going to come up here and put me a divot at my 1 inch. Placing a pencil in the divot, bring a T-square to it, draw me a line across. I'm going to go ahead and retire my 30 degree because it's a little bit cumbersome to consistently move around. Place the pencil in the divot, move the triangle to it. Now I got my horizontal and my vertical baselines. Right now. Alrighty. Now I've got you zoomed in. 3/8 scale. I'm going to write that on my tape up here, so it reminds me what scale we're on. Alright, 3/8 scale. Centering my tick mark on my horizontal baseline. My 6-inch mark, put the pencil there, turn it. 1 inch away, put my pencil there, turn it. Back to my 3/8 scale. Camera tripod's in the way. I'm at the 0 mark now. Pencil there. I'm going to turn it. Now one more measurement. I need that width. Then mark on 0. Turn it. Now I like to do all my horizontal lines first. I don't know why. I don't think it matters. Draw my line. Pencil on the divot. T-square to it. Draw my line. Pencil on the divot. Draw my line on the top view. Draw my line on the front view. Slide that 45 degree over. Put the pencil on my intersecting lines. Triangle over. Draw my 45 degree line. Ain't too much a gap right there. Didn't even hit my 45 degree. I'm going to transfer those lines from that 45 degree. Do the same thing up top. Transfer those measurements. Move that a little bit. Alright, so on this time what we're going to do, we're going to put a rabbit. We are going to make a rabbit. Alright, so this is 6 inches. So let's make our rabbit 3 inches by 3 inches. This will pretty much be a square inside of a square. 1, 2, 3 inches. Whoa. Don't want to put it there. I want to put it over here on my vertical baseline. Alright, my 3-inch mark. Now I got 3 right there. So now I'm going to put it at my 0 mark right there. Okay. Now my horizontal line first. Rabbit is going to be at the upper right side of this box. going to see that line there. There's my pencil back in that divot. Now, here's where it's interesting. You can make this the front edge of the box, or you can make this the front edge of the box. Okay, now if you make this the front edge of the box, then you're not going to see that line. That line's going to be on the other side. So for the purposes of this exercise, I'm making this the front edge of the box. So the way we're going to portray that line that we don't necessarily see, but we want to know where that measurement is. I do a dotted line. Now for our shop drawings, you don't really have to measure out each dash and each space. Okay, but now architects, they have several different types of dotted lines. All their dotted lines, if they have a big dash, little dash, big dash, it means something different than a solid dash line. Okay, but we don't need that much detail when it comes to this. Okay, so now we portray a rabbit here. We can see the rabbit here. We can see that line there. Okay. One more spot I need to get. I need to get right there. See, it's so much cheaper to erase a line than it is to have to cut a different piece. Got an eraser booger. Eraser boogers everywhere. I'm going to show you several different ways that you can apply your dimension lines. The drawing portion wasn't that difficult, but trying to figure out dimension lines and the way you like to do it, that's a little bit different. It's a different story. And remember, it's if you're just drawing your shop drawings just for you, it's just however that you decide you want to do it, and you can make sure that you can portray that idea to your future self beyond a shadow of a doubt. That's the way you do it. I'm just showing you how I go about doing these. I tend to be a little more fussy than I have to be. Alright, now we're all darkened in. We're ready for dimension lines. Okay, so several different ways we could portray these dimension lines. Okay. One way we could do it is bring them over here. Okay, now you're going to make a really long line here, a shorter line here, and another really long line here. And I'm going to show you why we do that in just a second. arrowheads. Okay, so this dimension line here covers this distance. This dimension line covers this distance. This covers the overall distance. You see that? Now, another way to portray that same idea is to bring the dimension lines over here. Long line there. Shorter line here. Longer line here. And the same idea. Now, of course, you don't have to put the dimensions there and there. I'm just giving you different options. Okay, so that's option number 2. Okay. Now, you have pretty much just about the same options to present this distance here. But of course, if you have these here, you cannot, well, you can, but it will be cluttered if you put dimension lines here to where it look just like these. Okay. Now, another option, if you absolutely wanted it, one of your dimension lines, then you could portray it as such. But that tends to get a little confusing fairly fast. But if that's the way you want to do it, there's certainly nothing wrong with it as long as you portray the idea to where it is not confusing. It is absolutely a way to go. Okay, and of course, this you could, well, this right here, you could also turn around and use this on the side to portray those distances as well. Okay, another option you have is top or bottom. It would look the same. You can easily these dimensions on your top view. Title block to 2 inches from the right side. Split the rest in half. you was so inclined, you could portray additional information. I like to do it right up here, but I write it in much smaller letters. Alrighty, that's a pretty simple thing. It's a little more complex with the last. We added a new form of dimension lines. We added a little bit complexity to it. Okay, now we're going to step it up a notch again, and we're actually going to turn this into an actual wood box. We're going to work on that next video. See you then.